back to Al's Canoe, Kalamazoo. Episode 6 covers the thickness planing and the routing of the Cove and Bead into the strips. Achieving an even thickness will really reduce the amount of fairing and sanding that we need to do later in the process, and it's necessary to get the Cove and Bead at the proper height on every single strip. Thickness planing is a slow process, but it doesn't require any special kind of technique. You simply feed the strips through the machine and it automatically pulls them through, cutting them down to your set thickness. The main challenge for this phase is in keeping your strips organized to make sure you plane both sides. This means taking about half the material off on one side, then flipping the strips over and resetting your thickness planer to the final thickness of the strip. Here's all my full length strips planed on one side down to a 1/4 inch. And then these are all shorter strips or strips that have bad knots in them that I'm not going to be able to use as their full length for sure. So I got those all piled up. Now I got to spin my planer around, feed them back the other direction on the opposite side. So both sides are planed down. I'm going to drop it to about a 32nd under 1/4 inch. I do still have to plane both sides of my walnut. I'm probably gonna save that for a different day. A lot of work. Took me about 3 hours to do one side of these, so we'll see how the rest goes. Alright, we clocked in I think just under 5 hours for the total project today. Got all my strips planed down on both sides to just below 1/4 inch, about a 32nd under. All my full length strips are tucked in close to the center of the strong back. Out here I have all the strips that will reach between 2 of my supports underneath. And then on this side I put everything that's not qualifying as a full length strip, but it'll reach all the way across all 3 of these little supports that I put in underneath my strong back to hold the strips. So just a little bit extra organization, make things a little bit easier. There is so much sawdust from planing down those strips. I thought there was a lot from cutting them from the boards, but I think there's actually more from the planer. But it's kind of big fluffy sawdust instead of real fine grain from the table saw. Well, it's a cold fall day, but I just finished up the last of the thickness planing I'm going to do on these. Wish I could say I was a little happier with the results on the walnut. It's expensive wood, and I'm afraid I just wasted an awful lot of it. Thickness planer is basically just chewing it up. Can't get the strips through without breaking apart in certain spots. Main problem is the direction of the grain, I think. Now, it might be a problem with the planer itself. Maybe the blades aren't sharp enough, but I did just spin them around, so they should be fresh. And I put a new base plate on it. It's nice and flat. So, bigger problem is the grain. So when the planer blade comes in, if it's coming against the sharp edge of that grain, it's just going to rip out the whole thing. So you want to feed it through in the other direction. The problem with this walnut that I have is the grain, if you go just a little further down the strip, is completely changed directions. If I put the strip through the other direction, then it's just going to chew it up when it gets to that point on the strip. So I'm kind of in a tough spot either way. We'll see. I need a little change of plans on how I use these and how many strips I actually end up with. But the job is done, so we'll move on to the next thing. This is a practice strip that I've already run through the router on both sides. So you can see here pretty clearly the cove on the right side and the bead on the left. So here are the router bits that I'm using for the cove and bead on my strips. So you got the one side that does the cove, the other side that does the bead. And it's 5/16 diameter on these, but you can get them different sizes, 1/4 inch. The shank on these is a 1/4 inch as well. But depending on what kind of router you have, you might need a 1/2 inch shank. Or you just have to make sure that what you buy is compatible with your equipment. Okay, we got 4 feather boards set up. We got the fence to the right distance. We got the bit to the right height. Everything's been checked over a couple of times. I'm going to go ahead and try to run one strip through and see how it goes. Unlike the thickness planer, there's nothing on the router table that will feed the strips through for you. So that means you have to push from one side, walk around, and pull through the other. Okay, I have all of my beads routed. Still need to go back and do the coves. I have 147 strips. Most of them way less than the full length of the boat. Plus a bucket of pieces over there that I have not done yet. Here's my 16 full-length strips all lined up 4x4. You can really see the cove and bead on those now that they're all routed. We are very close to starting to put these strips on the side of the boat. Well, that's it for today. Next episode, we're going to be putting the strips on the forms. It's a very exciting part of the build. I know Al is really looking forward to it, so we'll make sure we get him out here. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do for this next one. You won't want to miss it. Also, likes and comments are always welcome. Thanks again for watching. Join us next time on Al's Canoe, Kalamazoo.